Therīpadāna. The Legends of the Theris. Ekuposatha Chapter, the 2nd. 11. Ekuposatha. In the city, Bandamati, there was a king named Banduma. On the day of the full moon, he took on full moon day observance. At that time I also lived there. I was a water jug slave girl. Seeing the army, with the king, I reflected in this way then. The king himself, breaking his reign, took on full moon day observance. Surely that karma's bearing fruit. The populace is delighted. Having considered thoroughly my bad rebirth and poverty, after gladdening my mind, I took on full moon day observance. Having observed the full moon day in the Buddha's dispensation, due to that karma done very well, I went to Patacārā then. There my well-made divine mansion, welled up an entire league in height, appointed with fine gabled cells, decorated with large couches. A whole lack of celestial nymphs are always looking after me. Having surpassed the other gods, I outshine them all of the time. I was fixed in the chief queen's place. Of 64 kings of the gods, I was fixed in the chief queen's place. Of 63 will-turning kings, having a golden complexion, I transmigrated through lifetimes. Everywhere I am distinguished. Fruit of full moon day observance. Elephant and horse carriages, and complete chariot riggings, I obtain every one of those. Fruit of full moon day observance. Things made of gold, things of silver, also things made out of crystal, and likewise made of ruby too. I obtain all of those fine things. Silken garments and woolen ones. Clothes made of khemā and cotton, and other very costly clothes. I obtain all of those fine things. Food and drinks and solid foodstuffs, and likewise clothing, beds, and chairs. I would obtain all those items. Fruit of full moon day observance. Superb scents as well as garlands. Facial powders and ointments too. I would obtain all that make up. Fruit of full moon day observance. Gabled cell adorned palaces. Pavilions, storied mansions, caves. I would obtain all those dwellings. Fruit of full moon day observance. When I was but 7 years old, I went forth into homelessness. When the 8th month thence had arrived, I attained my arahantship. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. All my defilements are destroyed. Now there will be no more rebirth. In the 91 eons since, I did that good karma back then. I've come to know no bad rebirth. Fruit of full moon day observance. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The 3 knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught. The 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances. 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Bhikkhuni Ekuposatha spoke these verses. The legend of Ekuposatha Theri is finished. Salalapupphiya. On Kandabāga river's bank. I was a Canary back then. And then I saw the god of gods, bull of men, walking back and forth, plucking a salala flower. I gave it to the best Buddha. And then the great hero did sniff the salala with divine scent, accepting it the Sambuddha, Vipassī, leader of the world. Great hero then sniffed it again. For me while I was watching him, pressing my hands together then, I worshipped the best of bipeds, bringing pleasure to my own heart. I then ascended the mountain. In the 91 eons since, I gave him that flower back then. I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of Buddha puja. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains, I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The three knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught. The four analytical modes. And these 8 deliverances. 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Bhikkhuni Salalapupphiya spoke these verses. The legend of Salalapupphiya Theri is finished. Modakadāyikā. In the city, Bandamati, I was a water jug slave girl. After receiving my wages, I went with a water fetcher. Having seen a monk on the road, attentive with a well-calmed heart, happy, with pleasure in my heart, I gave the monk 3 sweetmeats then. Due to that karma done very well, with intention and firm resolve. For one more than 90 eons, I went not to a place of grief, giving him material goods. I then experienced all of that. Having given those 3 sweetmeats, I attained the unshaking state. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains, I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The 3 knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught. The 4 analytical modes. And these 8 deliverances. 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Bhikkhuni Modakadāyikā spoke these verses. The legend of Modakadāyikā Theri is finished. Ekkasāṇadāyikā. In the city, Hyderabad, I was a garland maker then. My mother and my father too went off to work every day then. When the sun was high in the sky, I saw a Buddhist monk just then, who was going along the road. So I spread out a seat for him, preparing that seat with woolen rugs with fleece and decorations. Happy, with pleasure in my heart, I then spoke these words to that monk. The ground is scorched and boiling hot. The sun is at its midday high. The breezes are not blowing now. The time is right to come sit down. This seat already is prepared. Just for your sake, O sage so great. Having taken pity on me, please sit down on this seat of mine. The monk, well tamed, with a pure mind, did sit down there at my request. Having taken his begging bowl, I gave as much as it would hold. Due to that karma done very well, with intention and firm resolve. Discarding my human body, I went to Patacārā then. There my well-made divine mansion, well fashioned by giving that seat, welled up full 60 leagues in height, and was 30 leagues wide back then. There were diverse couches for me, made of gold and made of silver. Likewise some were made of crystal, and also made out of ruby. My couch was well spread with cushions, covered with embroidered wool rugs, and coverlets of silk with gems, as well as some of fur with fringe. Whenever I desire a trip, filled with laughter and amusement, I am going with the best couch, in accordance with my wishes. I was fixed in the chief queen's place. Of 80 kings among the gods, I was fixed in the chief queen's place. Of 70 will-turning kings, transmigrating from birth to birth, I always obtained great riches. There was no lack in terms of wealth. That's the fruit of giving one seat. Transmigrating in 2 stations, the human or else the divine. I did not know another state. That's the fruit of giving one seat. I am reborn in just 2 castes. Kshatriyan, or else a Brahmin. Everywhere I'm of high family. That's the fruit of giving one seat. I know no mental turbulence. Nor is my heart tormented then. I also know no ugliness. That's the fruit of giving one seat. Wet nurses are waiting on me. And many hump-backed servant women. I am going from lap to lap. That's the fruit of giving one seat. Other people bathe and feed me. And they fondle me every day. Others anoint me with perfumes. That's the fruit of giving one seat. When I dwell in an empty room, a pavilion, beneath a tree, discerning what I am thinking, a couch is then produced for me. Now it is my final lifetime, turning in my last existence. Even today, breaking my reign, I went forth into homelessness. In the 100,000 eons. Since I gave him that gift back then, I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of giving one seat. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains, I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The three knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught. The four analytical modes. And these 8 deliverances. 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Bhikkhuni Ekkasāṇadāyikā spoke these verses. The legend of Ekkasāṇadāyikā Theri is finished. (15) Pañcadīpikā. In the city, Hasavat, I was a wanderer back then. From ashram to monastery, I wandered desiring the good. One day when the moon was waning, I saw the supreme Bodhi tree, bringing pleasure to my heart there. I sat down at that Bodhi's roots, standing with a heart of reverence, hands pressed together on my head, knowing mental happiness there. I then reflected in this way. If he has limitless virtue, is unique, without a rival, let Buddha show me a marvel. Let him make this Bodhi tree shine. When I made that aspiration, the Bodhi tree did then blaze up. It shined forth in all directions, displaying every good color. 7 nights and days I sat there, at the roots of that Bodhi tree. And when the 7th day arrived, I made an offering of lamps, setting them around my seat there. I proceeded to light 5 lamps. And then my lamps all remained lit, until the sun did rise again. Due to that karma done very well, with intention and firm resolve, discarding my human body, I went to Patacārā then. There my well-made divine mansion was known as Pañcadīpikā then. It was full 60 leagues in height, and 30 leagues in width back then. Uncountable numbers of lamps are burning in my surroundings. The divine world is then lit up with lamplight up to its edges. If when standing looking eastward, I should desire to see something above, below, also across, I see everything with my eyes, as far as I should wish to see. Things well done and things not well done. There's no obstruction to my sight. In the trees and the mountains there, I was fixed in the chief queen's place. Of 80 kings among the gods, I was fixed in the chief queen's place. Of 100 will-turning kings, in whichever womb I'm reborn, whether it's human or divine. In my surroundings, a whole lac of lamps are burning there for me, fallen from the world of the gods. I was born in a mother's womb. While I was in that mother's womb, my eyes were open all the time. Due to my having good karma, an entire 100,000 lamps are lit in the lying-in room. That's the fruit of giving 5 lamps. When my final rebirth occurred, I turned my mind away from lust. I attained the unaging and undying cool state, nirvana. When I was but 7 years old, I attained my arahantship. The Buddha ordained me right then. That's the fruit of giving 5 lamps. Meditating on a platform. Beneath a tree, empty spots. A lamp is always burning there. That's the fruit of giving 5 lamps. My divine eye is purified. I am skilled in concentration. I excel in special knowledges. That's the fruit of giving 5 lamps. Every achievement is achieved. My duty's done, I'm undefiled. 5 lamps is now worshipping your feet, great hero, O Eyeful One. In the 100,000 eons. Since I gave him those lamps back then, I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of giving 5 lamps. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains. I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The 3 knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught. The 4 analytical modes. And these 8 deliverances. 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Bhikkhuni Pañcadīpikā spoke these verses. The legend of Pañcadīpikā Theri is finished. (16) Sālāmalikā. On Kandabhaga River's bank, I was a Canary back then. I saw the stainless one, Buddha, the self-become, unconquered one. Happy, with pleasure in my heart. Awe-struck, with hands pressed together. Taking a sal-flower garland. I worshipped the self-become one. Due to that karma done very well. With intention and firm resolve. Discarding my human body. I went to Patacārā then. I was fixed in the chief queen's place. Of 36 kings of the gods. Whatever my mind wishes for comes into being as desired. I was fixed in the chief queen's place. Of 10 kings who were will-turners. Being a good-minded woman. I transmigrated through lifetimes. My wholesomeness is apparent. I went forth into homelessness. Today I'm worthy of puja. In the Buddha's dispensation. Today, with my mind purified. The evil-minded one is gone. All my defilements are destroyed. Now there will be no more rebirth. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains. I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The 3 knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught. The 4 analytical modes. And these 8 deliverances. 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. In the 94 eons since. I worshipped the Buddha back then. I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of a sal garland. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. All my defilements are destroyed. Now there will be no more rebirth. Thus indeed Bhikkhuni Sālāmalikā spoke these verses. The legend of Sālāmalikā Theri is finished. (17) Gotamī. One day the great lamp of the world. The caravan leader for men, dwelt in the Mahavana hall. Among Visali's gabled roofs. The victor's mother's sister then. The Buddhist nun great Gotamī. Was dwelling in a nun's refuge. Built in that delightful city. This reasoning occurred to her. Thinking when she'd gone off alone. From liberated Buddhist nuns. Numbering 5 times 100. I will not be able to see the Buddha's final nirvana. That of the 2 chief followers. Nor Rahul, Ananda, Nanda. Destroying life's constituents. And letting go, I shall go to nirvana, permitted by him. The great sage, the Lord of the world. That reasoning also occurred to the 500 Buddhist nuns. That reasoning also occurred To nuns beginning with Khemā. At that time there was an earthquake. The thunder of the gods did roar. Weighed down by grief, the goddesses, who lived in that refuge for nuns, piteously weeping at that, shed their tears there in the refuge. And then all of those Buddhist nuns, after approaching Gotamī, placing their heads upon her feet, spoke these words they addressed to her. Sister, gone off alone, there we were sprinkled with drops of water. The unshaking earth is shaking. The thunder of the gods roaring. Lamentations are being heard. What then does this mean, Gotamī? She then told everything to them, just as she had reasoned it out. All of them too told Gotamī, just as they had reasoned it out. If it's desired by you, sister, Nirvana, unsurpassed and pure, we too will all reach Nirvana. With Buddha's consent, pious one. Along with you we have gone forth. From home and from existence too. Along with you indeed we'll go. To Nirvana, supreme city. She said, what is there to be said? To women who are going out. And then along with all of them, she quitted that Buddhist nun's nest. May the goddesses forgive me, who are dwelling in this refuge. This will be my final vision of this Buddhist nun's residence. I'll go to unconditionedness, where there's neither death nor decay. One doesn't meet the unpleasant, nor get cut off from pleasant things. Hearing those words, not passionless, those heirs of the well-gone Buddha, overcome with grief lamented. Alas, we have little merit. Without those women this Buddhist nun's nest now has become empty. The victor's heirs now are not seen. As stars disappear at daybreak, Gotamī goes to Nirvana, along with the 500 nuns. Like the Ganges flows to the sea, with 500 tributaries. The faithful lay women, having seen her going along the road, coming out from their houses then, bowing down at her feet said this. Great fortuned one, be satisfied. Nirvana's not proper for you. Abandoning us, destitute. Distraught like that those women wailed. In order to dispel their grief, Gotamī spoke this honeyed speech. Enough with your crying, children. Today, which is your time to laugh. I have understood suffering. The cause of suffering's allayed. I've experienced cessation. I have cultivated the path. The first recitation portion. The teacher's been worshipped by me. I have done what the Buddha taught. The heavy load has been laid down. The ties to existence removed. The reason for which I went forth from my home into homelessness. I have now achieved that purpose. Destruction of all the fetters. While Buddha and his great teaching are still around, nothing lacking. That's the time for my nirvana. Do not grieve about me, children. Koa, Ananda, Nanda, Rahula, the victor remain. The assembly's cheerful and close. The conceit of rivals is slain. The famed one in Okaka's clan is exalted, the death crusher. Children, isn't it now the time for me to achieve nirvana? My wish I've had for very long is finally fulfilled today. This is the time for drums of joy. What then with all these tears, children? If you feel compassion for me, and if you all appreciate the great teaching's stability, then strong and fervent you should be. Beseeched by me, the Sambuddha gave ordination to women. Therefore, as I have shown myself, you all should follow after him. Having thus advised those women, placed in front by the Buddhist nuns, going up to and worshipping the Buddha, she said this to him. Well gone one, I am your mother. And you are my father, hero. Lord, who gives the good teachings joy. O Gotamī, I'm born from you. Your body, made of flesh and bones, was reared up by me, well gone one. My flawless body, made of truth. Was reared up by you, Gotamī. I suckled you with mother's milk, which quenches thirst for a moment. From you I drank the milk of truth, peaceful without interruption. Great sage, you owe no debt to me for protecting and rearing you. To obtain such a son is what women desiring sons desire. Mothers of kings, like Mandata, are sunk into existence sea. O son, through you I've crossed over life, this ocean of becoming. Women can easily obtain the name King's Mother or Chief Queen. The name Mother of the Buddha is the hardest name to obtain. O hero, I've obtained that name. I got my wish because of you. Whether little things or big things, all of that is fulfilled by me. Having abandoned this body, I want to reach full nirvana. Give me permission, O hero. O dis-ease ender, O leader. Stretch forth your feet, like lilies soft, which are marked with wheel, goad, and flag. I shall make obeisance to you, with a mother's love for her son. Show me your physical body. It resembles a heap of gold. One last good look at your body. Then off I go to peace, leader. Marked with the 32 great marks. It was adorned in radiance. The victor showed her his body. A pale sun through an evening cloud. Then she laid her head down upon the soles of his feet, marked with wheels, which were like lotuses in bloom, as brilliant as the dawning sun. I'm bowing to the sun for men, the banner of the solar clan. When I have died for the last time, I will never see you again. Chief of the world, it is believed that women make every error. If there's any error in me, forgive it, mine of compassion. I begged you, over and again, for ordination of women. If I was in error in that, forgive it, O bull among men. O hero, with your permission, I instructed the Buddhist nuns. If I gave bad advice in that, forgive it, Lord of forgiveness. What's not forgiven to forgive? In one who's adorned with virtue. What more am I to say to you? When you're going to nirvana? Those who are desiring escape from the world, in my pure and complete assembly of monks, are like the fading crescent moon at daybreak, after having seen the ruin of its grasps. Like the stars and the moon around Mount Meru. The other nuns circumambulated him, Chief Victor, and after bowing at his feet, they stood there gazing at the Blessed One's face. Formerly my eyes and ears weren't satisfied by the vision of you nor hearing your speech. But now, having obtained perfection, my mind is satisfied by the taste of the teaching. When you roar forth amidst the crowd, destroying the sophist's conceit, those there who are seeing your face are fortunate, O bull of men. Battle ender, fortunate too are they who worship your fine feet, which have broad heels, extended toes, and nails the color of copper. Fortunate too, O best of men, are those who listen to your words. Imperfection slaying, friendly, honey sweet and full of gladness. Fortunate am I, great hero, intent on worshipping your feet. The existential desert crossed, I shine due to the good teaching. Then the pious one explained her thoughts to the assembly of monks. And having worshipped Rahula, Ananda and Nanda, she said, I am weary of my body, similar to a serpent's den, a sickness house, heap of dis-ease, pasturing in old age and death, covered with varied flaws and drool, dependent on others, actionless. Therefore I desire nirvana. Give me your permission, children. Nanda and lucky Rahula, who were griefless, without constraint, wise and unshakingly steadfast, reflected on the way things are. Woe on greed for conditioned things, as worthless as banana wood. Same as a deluded mirage. Fleeting and constantly changing. In flux are all conditioned things. In so far as the victor's ant, the one who suckled the Buddha, Gotamī, goes without a trace. Ananda was then still training. Fond of the victor, but still sad. Beseeching her there, shedding tears. He was wailing piteously. Gotamī is going, smiling. Surely then soon the Buddha too will be going to nirvana. Like a fire whose fuel has run out. Gotamī said to Ananda, who was lamenting in this way. O son, keen on serving Buddha. Your wisdom's deep as is the sea. And so you really should not mourn. When the time for smiling has come. Son, through your assistance to me, I have realized nirvana. Being requested by you, dear Buddha gave us ordination. Therefore do not be distressed, son. Your effort is now bearing fruit. That state unseen by the ancients, and likewise by rival teachers, is known by Buddhist young maidens, when they're only 7 years old. So take your final look at me, preserver of the Buddha's word. Son, I am going to that place, where one who's gone cannot be seen. Once when he was preaching Dhamma, the chief leader of the world sneezed. At that time, compassionately, I spoke well-wishing words to him. Live for a long time, great hero. Remain for an aeon, great sage. For the sake of the entire world. Do not grow old nor pass away. The Buddha then said this to me, who had spoken to him like that. Buddhas are not to be worshipped, as you're worshipping, Gotamī. How then, O one with omniscience, should the thus gone ones be worshipped? How should Buddhas not be worshipped? Being asked, tell all that to me. See my followers, united, vigorously energetic, constantly firm in their effort. That is worship of the Buddhas. Then, going back to the refuge, gone off alone, I reflected. The Lord, who reached the 3 worlds' ends, likes a united retinue. Well then, I'll reach full nirvana. Let me see no hindrance to that. I, contemplating in that way, after seeing the 7th sage, announced to the Buddha, the guide, the time of my full nirvana. And then he gave me his assent. You know the time, O Gotamī. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains, I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The 3 knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught. The 4 analytical modes. And these 8 deliverances. 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. There are fools who doubt that women 2 gain Dhamma penetration. To dispel that wrong view of theirs. Display miracles, Gotamī. Then bowing to the Sambuddha. And rising up into the sky. With Buddha's assent, Gotamī displayed various miracles. Being alone, then she was cloned. And being cloned, again alone. Appearing then disappearing. She walked through walls, walked through the sky. She traveled unattached to earth. She also sank down into it. She walked on water as on land, leaving its surface unbroken. Cross-legged, she flew like a bird across the surface of the sky. With her body she took control of space right up to Brahma's home. Taking Mount Meru as handle, she made great earth her umbrella. Carrying, twirling root and all, she walked back and forth in the sky. And like the time when 6 suns rose, she caused the entire world to fume. As though it were the end of time. She garlanded the earth in flames. She took Mounts Meru, Mandara, Dadara, Great Mukalinda. All of them, in a single fist. Like they were tiny mustard seeds. She concealed with her fingertip. the makers of both day and night. As though 1,000 suns and moons were a necklace she was wearing. In a single hand she held the waters of the 4 great oceans. She rained forth a torrential rain. Like an apocalyptic cloud, she made appear up in the sky a wheel turner with retinue. She showed Vishnu as the boar and roaring lion, and Garua. Being alone, she conjured up a boundless group of Buddhist nuns, making them disappear again. Alone, she said this to the sage. Your mother's sister, great hero, is one who's done what you have taught. An attainer of her own goal. She worships your feet, Eiffel One. Having shown varied miracles. Descending from up in the sky. Worshipping the lamp of the world. She sat down there, off to one side. Oh great sage, I'm an old woman. 120 years from birth. That much is enough, oh hero. I'm reaching nirvana, leader. Astonished, all the multitudes, with their hands pressed together then, said, Sister, you have great prowess at supernormal miracles. The victor, Pañcadīpikā, the one with eyes for everything, the leader of the world, arose 100,000 eons hence. I was born in Hasavat, in a clan of ministers then, furnished with all kinds of servants, rich, prosperous, very wealthy. Once, when tagging on with father, attended by a group of slaves, along with a large retinue, I approached that bull among men. The victor, like autumnal sun, surrounded by garlands of rays. Without constraints, that Dhamma cloud rained forth like the king of the gods. Seeing him, being pleased at heart, and having heard his lovely voice, the leader of men placed his aunt in the foremost place among nuns. Hearing this, for an entire day, I gave the neutral one large gifts, and lots of the requisites too. The chief of men with assembly, having fallen down at his feet, I aspired to attain that place. And then the greatly mindful one, the 7th sage, said to the crowd, this one who for a week has fed the world's leader with assembly, I shall relate details of her. All of you listen to my words. In 100,000 eons, arising in Okaka's clan, the one whose name is Gotamī, will be the teacher in the world, worthy heir to that one's Dhamma, Dhamma's legitimate offspring. The one whose name is Gotamī will be the teacher's follower. She will be his mother's sister, the Buddha's wet nurse his whole life. She will attain the foremost place among the senior Buddhist nuns. Hearing that, I was overjoyed. And then, as long as life, I served the victor with the requisites. After that, having passed away, born among the Tvatisa gods with all delights and riches, in 10 ways I was outshining all the other gods who lived there, through shapes and sounds and fragrances, through tastes and the things that I touch, in terms of lifespan, complexion, happiness and famousness too, and likewise through supreme power. I shone, having attained those 10. There I became the beloved chief queen of the king of the gods, transmigrating in the cycle, being blown on by karma wind. I was born in a slave village, in the realm of the Kasi king. Every day there were 500 slaves dwelling in that very place. I was the wife of he who was best of all the slaves living there. 500 self-become Buddhas entered our village seeking alms, along with all my female kin. I was thrilled after seeing them, all of us having formed a guild. We served those Buddhas for 4 months. Having given each the 3 robes, we transmigrated with husbands, fallen from there with our husbands. We all went to Tvatisa. And now, in my final rebirth, born in Devadaha city, My father, Anjana Sakya. My mother was Sulakana. We left for Suddhodana's house in Kapilavastu city. The other women born Sakyan also came to the Sakyan's house. Distinguished among all of them, I was wet nurse of the victor. After having gone forth, my son became the Buddha, the world's guide. Afterwards I renounced the world, together with the 500. Along with the Sakyan heroes, I witnessed the comfort of peace. They were the men who formerly had been born as our own husbands, makers of merit together. They've now seized the crucial moment. Pitted by the well-gone one, they experienced arahantship. The rest of the Buddhist nuns there then all rose up into the air, come together like bright stars. Those women with great powers shined. They displayed their diverse powers, like different types of ornaments might be displayed by a goldsmith who is well trained in workmanship. After displaying miracles, variegated and many, having pleased the fine debater, the sage and his retinue then, having descended from the sky, having worshipped the seventh sage, permitted by the chief of men, they sat down in that place again. Hey, hero, it was Gotamī who showed pity to all of us. Perfumed by your good karma, we reached destruction of our constraints. Our defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains, we are living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for us. The three knowledges are attained. We have done what the Buddha taught. The four analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. We have done what the Buddha taught. We are masters of miracles. O sage so great, we are masters of the divine ear faculty, and knowing what's in others' hearts. We know all of our former lives. Divine eye now is purified. All the constraints have been destroyed. There now will be no more rebirth. It was in your presence, great sage, that our own knowledge came to be. Knowing meaning and the teaching, etymology and preaching. Leader, you're surrounded by us, Buddhist nuns with hearts full of love. O great sage, give your permission to us to all reach nirvana. The victor said, what can I say to women who are telling me we are going to reach nirvana? Know that now is your time for it. At that time all those Buddhist nuns, starting with the nun Gotamī, worshipping the victor, then rose up from their seats and went away. The world's chief leader, the wise one, with a large body of people, followed his own maternal aunt until she got up to the gate. Then Gotamī fell to the ground at the feet of the world's kinsman, and with all of the other nuns, performed a final foot worship. This will be my final vision of you, the Lord of the whole world. Never again will I see your face, the fountain of ambrosia. No more homage to your soft feet. I won't ever touch them again. O hero, chief of the whole world. Today I'll go to nirvana. What's your physical form or face? With things being such as they are. All conditioned things are like that, providing no comfort, trifling. She, having gone along with them, back to her own refuge for nuns, sat in half-lotus position, in her own superior seat. At that time the lay women there, fond of Buddha's dispensation, hearing her proceeding ahead, those foot worshippers approached her, pounding on their chests with their fists, loudly howling piteous cries. Grieving they fell down on the earth, like creepers cut off at the root. Refuge bestower, Lord, do not leave us to go to nirvana. Bowing down our heads, all of us are begging you, O Gotamī. One lay woman, faithful and wise, was striving the most among them. While gently stroking that one's head, Gotamī spoke these words to her. Enough with this depression, child. Twisted up in the snares of death. Impermanent is all that is. Ever shaking, ending in loss. Then having sent them all away, she entered the first altered state, the second and also the third. And then she attained the fourth one. In order, moving higher still. The plane of space infinity. The plane in which perception's pure. And that where nothingness is seen. In reverse order, Gotamī entered all of those altered states. From the last back down to the first. And then back up to the fourth one. Rising up, she reached nirvana. Like the flame of a fuel-less lamp. There was an enormous earthquake. Bolts of lightning fell from the sky. The thunder was rumbling loudly. The deities gathered there wailed. A flower shower from the sky was raining down upon the earth. Even regal Mount Meru shook. Just like a dancer on the stage. The great ocean was greatly grieved. And he was weeping in distress. The gods, snake gods and titans too. Even Brahma, awed at that time, said, this one has now been dissolved. In flux indeed is all that is. The other nuns surrounding her, who practiced the Buddha's teachings, they too attained nirvana then. Like the flames of lamps without fuel. Alas! Attachments end up cut. Alas! Conditioned things all change. Alas! Life ends in destruction. In this way people were wailing. Then Brahma and the deities went up to him, the seventh sage, doing what is appropriate, according to worldly custom. Then the teacher told Ananda, whose knowledge was deep as the sea. Go now, Ananda, tell the monks. My mother has reached nirvana. Then Ananda, who'd lost his joy, whose eyes were filling up with tears, announced, while choking on his words. Come together, O Buddhist monks, who are residing in the north, or in the east or south or west. Let them all listen to my words. Monks who are the well-gone one's heirs. This Gotamī, who carefully reared up the body of the sage, has gone to peace, no longer seen. Just like stars when the sun rises. She's gone home, leaving behind her designation, Buddha's mother. Where even he, the five-eyed one, the leader, cannot see one gone. Each with faith in the well-gone one. And each of the sage's pupils ought now to come, that Buddha's son, to honor the Buddha's mother. Hearing that, the monks came with speed. Even those living far away. Some came by Buddha's majesty. Some were skilled in superpowers. Folks there raised a funeral bier, where Gotamī was now laid out. In a good, lovely gabled hut. Excellent and made out of gold. The four gods called world protectors hoisted the bier on their shoulders. Other gods starting with Sakra gathered inside the gabled hut. There were 500 gabled huts, the color of autumnal suns, which were built by Visakhama for all of those great Buddhist nuns. All those 500 Buddhist nuns were laid out on funeral biers, hoisted up on shoulders of gods, lined up in the proper order. A canopy up in the sky was stretched out over everything. The sun and moon and all the stars were drawn on it in liquid gold. Flags of various types were raised. A floral covering stretched out. Flowers rose up out of the earth, like incense rising in the sky. Both the sun and the moon were seen, and all the stars were twinkling. And even when it was high noon, the sun did not burn, like the moon. Gods made offerings of garlands, perfumed with divine fragrances, and honored Gotamī with songs, with dances and with discourses. The snake gods, titans and Brahmas according to powers and strengths. Made offerings to the laid out mother who was in nirvana. In front were led off all of the well gone one's heirs in nirvana. Gotamī was led off after. Honored wet nurse of the Buddha. With the gods and people out front. The snake gods, titans and brahmas. And next, with followers, Buddha. Process to worship his mother. The Buddha's final nirvana was not of such a kind as this. Gotamī's final nirvana was extremely miraculous. The Buddha and monks won't be seen at Buddha's final nirvana. The Buddha is at Gotamī's. So's Therīpadāna and so on. Then they built the funeral pyres, made with all sorts of fragrant wood, and sprinkled with perfumed powder. Those great nuns were cremated there. The remaining portions and bones were completely consumed by fire. And at that time Ananda spoke this speech, which was very moving. Gotamī's gone without a trace, and her corpse has been cremated, intimating that the Buddha's nirvana too will soon occur. Ananda, urged by the Buddha, placed Gotamī's sacred relics in her begging bowl at that time, and presented them to the Lord, taking them up with both his hands. The seventh sage, the Buddha, said, just as the trunk of a standing, gigantic timber-bearing tree, impermanent, breaks into bits, however massive it may be, so Gotamī, who was a nun, has reached her final nirvana. Oh! It is a marvelous thing. My mother who's reached nirvana, leaving only relics behind, did not grieve and was not wailing, grieving not for others left. She's crossed the sea of existence. She's cooled, she's in nirvana. Her torment is now avoided. Know this about her, O you monks. She was a very wise woman, with wisdom which was vast and wide, distinguished among Buddhist nuns. She'd mastered the superpower, called the divine ear element. Gotamī was a master of the knowledge stored in others' hearts. She remembered her former lives. Her divine eye was purified. All the defilements were destroyed. She will not be reborn again. She had purified her knowledge of meaning and of the teaching, etymology and preaching. Because of that she did not grieve. A rod of iron that's beaten, when it is glowing due to fire, slowly cools off, leaving no ash. Like that it's not known where she went. No rebirth place can be discerned of the truly liberated, who crossed the flood of lustful bonds, who've reached unshaking happiness. Therefore be lamps unto yourselves. Graze in the field of mindfulness. With wisdom's 7 parts attained, you all should end your suffering. Thus indeed Bhikkhuni Mahapajapati Gotamī spoke these verses. The legend of Mahapajapati Gotamī Theri is finished. Khemā. The victor, Pajamudara, the one with eyes for everything, the leader of the world, arose 100,000 eons hence. I was born in Hasavat, in a clan of millionaires then, glistening with various gems, endowed with supreme happiness. Having approached that great hero, I heard him preaching his Dhamma. Afterward, becoming pleased, I approached the victor for refuge, having begged mother and father. After inviting him, the guide, I fed the Buddha for a week, together with his followers. At the end of those 7 days, the charioteer of men placed a great nun in the foremost place, among those who have great wisdom. Hearing that, being overjoyed, doing further good works for him, the great sage, after bowing down, I aspired to attain that place. Then the victor said this to me. Let your aspiration succeed. Deeds done for me with assembly. will bear measureless fruit for you. In 100,000 eons. Arising in Okaka's clan. The one whose name is Gotamī will be the teacher in the world. Worthy heir to that one's Dhamma. Dhamma's legitimate offspring. You'll be she whose name is Khemā, and will attain that foremost place. Due to that karma done very well. With intention and firm resolve. Discarding my human body. I went to Patacārā then. Fallen thence, I went to Yama. And then I went to Tusita. And then to Namanarati. And then Vasavati city. In whichever place I'm reborn. In accordance with that karma. Every place I was made chief queen. Of the gods who were the kings there. Fallen thence, in the human state. Every place I was made chief queen. Of kings who turn the wheel of law. And powerful regional kings. Having experienced success. Among gods as well as humans. Becoming happy everywhere. I transmigrated for eons. Then 91 eons ago. The world leader named Vipassi arose, the one with lovely eyes. With insight into everything. I went up to that world leader. The charioteer among men. Hearing his exalted teaching. I went forth into homelessness. After living the holy life. During fully 10,000 years. In that wise one's dispensation. Bent on effort, very learned. Skillful in the heaps of causes. Expert in the four noble truths. Clever, varied speaker, I was. One who's done what the teacher taught. Fallen thence I was reborn in Tusita, with fame and splendor. I surpassed the other gods there. As the fruit of the holy life. In whichever place I'm reborn. I'm very rich and prosperous. Intelligent and beautiful. And my retinue is well trained. Due to my karma, through effort. In the victor's dispensation. I enjoy every attainment. Obtained with ease, pleasing the mind. Through the fruit of my good conduct. Nobody treats me with contempt. Even he who was my husband. In whichever place I'm reborn. In this present lucky aeon. Brahma's kinsman, greatly famed one. Whose name was Kagamana. Best debater, Buddha, arose. We were born in a very rich clan at that time, in Benares. Dhananjani, Sumedha too. Along with me, the women 3. We lay donors gave 1,000. To the sage, and a hermitage. For the assembly, donating. That place to him with assembly. Fallen thence, all we 3 women. Were reborn into Patacārā. Where we attained the foremost fame. And just the same among people. In this present lucky aeon. Brahma's kinsman, greatly famed one. The Buddha known as Kassapa. Was born, the best of debaters. The attendant of the great sage. Was the ruler of men back then. The king of Kasi, named Kiki. In Benares, greatest city. I was that king's eldest daughter. Well known by the name Sama. Hearing the best victor's teaching. I chose to seek ordination. Our father did not permit it. We stayed at home during that time. Comfortable royal maidens. Doing our practice with vigor. In virginal celibacy. For 20 times 1,000 years. Fond of waiting on the Buddha. The king's 7 joyful daughters. Sama, and Samagut. Bhikkhuni, Bhikkadāyikā. Dhamma, and also Sudhamma. And 7th Sagadic. Now I, and Uppalavaṇṇā. Pakra and Qual. Kisagatami, Dhammadina. And Visakha is the 7th. Once when the sun among people was preaching the marvelous truth. Having heard it, I memorized. Mahanadana Satanta. Due to those karmas done very well. With intention and firm resolve. Discarding my human body. I went to Patacārā then. And now, in my final rebirth. In Sagala, best of cities. I am the Mata king's daughter. Well liked, held dear and beloved. All was peaceful in that city when I was coming into birth. After that, due to that virtue, they gave the name Khemā to me. When I attained the prime of youth, I was adorned with beauty and grace. At that time my father gave me to the great king, Bimbisara. I was his best beloved queen, taking great pride in my beauty. Thinking, he speaks ill of beauty, I dodged the compassionate one. At that time, King Bimbisara, with knowledge and great love for me, after praising the bamboo grove, brought singers to praise it for me. We think that one who has not seen the bamboo grove, so delightful, nor the lair of the well-gone one, has not seen the garden named Joy. But one who's seen the bamboo grove, the joy that's enjoyed by people, that one's seen the garden named Joy, much enjoyed by the King of Gods, giving up the garden named Joy, descending to the earth's surface. Gods are satisfied, astonished, seeing the lovely bamboo grove. What speaker can fully exclaim its accumulated virtue, produced by the merit of kings, beautified by Buddha's merit? Hearing of its magnificence, which was delightful to my ears, desiring to see that garden, I then announced this to the king. Then the king, the lord of the earth, along with a large retinue, led me by procession to that garden I was longing to see. Go and look at the great riches of that grove, pleasing to the eyes. It always glows with radiance, colored by the Buddha's aura. And when the sage, out begging alms, had entered Rajgir, best city, at that very time I went out, desiring to look at that grove. Then I entered that grove in bloom, alive with varied bees buzzing, full of Indian cuckoo songs, and dances by a peacock troupe, free of excess noise, uncluttered, embellished with varied walkways, with scattered huts and pavilions, resplendent with diverse yogis, wandering about there. I thought, my eyes are now proving their worth, having seen in that very place a youthful monk. I thought of him, staying in a delightful grove, like this, in early youth, as though it is the springtime, well endowed, with a body which is pleasing, bald-headed, wrapped in saffron robes, seated at the foot of a tree. He meditates, a Buddhist monk, discarding sensual delight. Shouldn't this auspicious teaching be practiced by old folks, after they have lived the domestic life, enjoying pleasure as they like? Discerning that it was empty, I approached the perfumed house, the victor's home, but spied the victor, like the sun when it is rising, sitting happily by himself, being fanned by a fine woman. Seeing that scene, I thought like this: isn't this bull of men wretched? The woman, though, shining like gold, eyes and face like pink lotuses, with red lips, looking like jasmine, pleasing to the mind and the eyes, with ears that are like golden swings, firm breasts that look like water jugs, thin-waisted, a shapely behind, fine thighs with charming ornaments, dressed in clothing of fine blue silk, furnished with a border of red, with unsatisfiable looks. She has a smiling demeanor. After seeing her, I thought this: wow! This is a super beauty. Not ever in the past was seen by my own eye such a beauty. Then she was ravished by old age, discolored, her face disfigured. Her teeth fell out, her hair turned white. Her mouth was fouled with saliva. Ears shriveled up, eyes formed cataracts. Breasts sagged and became repulsive. Wrinkles spread on all of her parts, and veins popped out on that body. Crooked-limbed, leaning on a cane. Jetting-ribbed, emaciated, trembling, fallen onto the ground, gasping for every breath she took. And then I was profoundly moved. Marveled, my hair standing on end. I said, "Woe on filthy beauty! It is where only fools delight." Then the great compassionate one, discerning that my mind was moved, happy, with a heart that was thrilled, he spoke to me in these verses. Khemā, see this complex heap as diseased, disgusting and putrid. It is oozing and it's dripping, the delight of foolish people. With one pointed focus, steadfast, fix your mind on impurity. Remain mindful of the body. Be intent on disenchantment. Just as is this, so too is that. Just as is that, so too is this. On the inside and the outside. Be detached from body delight. Cultivate emancipation. And abandon latent conceit. Then, through understanding conceit, you'll wander in tranquility. Those following the stream, excited with lust, are making webs for themselves, like a spider. Others, cutting that away, are going forth, indifferent, giving up the pleasures of lust. Then the charioteer of men, knowing my mental readiness, in order to instruct me preached Mahānidāna Satanta. Hearing that best Satanta, I recalled my former memory. Just standing there I was at peace. I purified my Dhamma I, immediately falling down before the feet of the great sage. I spoke these words at that moment, to confess offenses to him. Praise to you, O seer of all. Praise to you, home of compassion. Praise to you, existence crosser. Praise to you, path to deathlessness. Plunged into the thicket of views, I was doped by passionate lust. I now delight in discipline, disciplined by your righteous trick, without enjoyment because they do not see great sages like you. Beings in the sea of being are undergoing much dis-ease. Though close I did not go to see the world's help, non-hostility, the one who made an end to death. I am confessing that offense. Beauty obsessed, I did not go to the goodness giver, great friend, suspecting he'd be unfriendly. I am confessing that offense. And then the one with honeyed speech, the great compassionate victor, sprinkling me with ambrosia said, Khemā, you should stay here with us. Then after bowing down my head, having circumambulated, having gone, having seen the king, I spoke these words to him just then. O conqueror of enemies, the righteous trick that you thought up, wishing to see the grove, I saw the sage, the one free of craving. If it's pleasing to you, O king, I'll go forth in the neutral ones. Dispensation, tired of beauty, because of what the sage told me. Then pressing his hands together, the king, the lord of the earth, said, I permit you, O lucky one. Let your going forth have success. And then after my going forth, when I had served for 7 months, watching lamp flames rising, falling, my mind being profoundly moved, fed up with all conditioned things, skillful in the heaps of causes, passing over the fourfold flood, I attained my arahantship. I'd mastered the superpower, called the divine ear element. I also was a master of the knowledge stored in others' hearts. I remember my former lives. My divine eye is purified. All the defilements are destroyed. I will not be reborn again. In the Buddha's dispensation, I have purified my knowledge of meaning and of the teaching, etymology and preaching, skilled in the purifications, confident in Kathavatthu, and in the dispensation I've mastered Abhidhamic method. Then, being asked subtle questions in Torah Vathu by the queen, wife of the Kosala king, I explained according to truth At that time the king, approaching the well-gone one, asked him as well. Then the Buddha explained just as those questions were explained by me. The victor, thrilled at that virtue, then placed me in the foremost place. The ultimate man then dubbed me chief of the nuns with great wisdom. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains, I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The three knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught. The four analytical modes. And these 8 deliverances. 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Bhikkhuni Khemā spoke these verses. The legend of Khemā Theri is finished. Uppalavaṇṇā. The nun named Uppalavaṇṇā, master of the superpowers, having worshipped the teacher's feet, spoke these words to him at that time. Birth and rebirth crossed beyond. I've attained the unshaking state. All sufferings destroyed by me. I'm declaring it, O great sage, throughout the multitudes who are pleased in Buddha's dispensation. If I've wronged some people, may they forgive it facing the victor. Great sage, I am declaring that if there's some mistake I've made, transmigrating in existence, may you forgive that transgression. Show your superpowers to those who practice my dispensation. Cut off today the doubts throughout the multitude, which is fourfold. Great hero, I am your daughter. O wise one, O effulgent one. I've done very difficult deeds. Difficult and numerous too. My skin is blue lotus colored. By name I am named Blue Lotus. I'm your follower, great hero. Worshipping your feet, Eiffel One. Rahula and I myself, due to our similar mindsets, were born in the same conditions. Various hundred many times. Rebirth is together with him. And after birth too, together. Now in our final existence. Both, born in varied conditions. Together, Rahula's your son. I'm your daughter, named Blue Lotus. See my superpowers, hero. I'll show my strength to the teacher. She put the 4 great oceans down into the palm of her own hand. Just like a youthful physician does oil destined for the bladder. Tearing up earth, she put it down into the palm of her own hand. Like a tender young boy picking a flower that's full of color. Her palm, big as the universe, covering the world from the top, caused raindrops of various hues to rain forth again and again, making earth into a mortar, making Mount Meru her pestle, as though a youthful grinding girl. Grinding grain flour, she made gravel. I am the best Buddha's daughter. By name I am named Blue Lotus. A master of superpowers. I practice your dispensation, making varied transformations, showing them to the world's leader, announcing name and lineage. I worship your feet, Eiffel One. I've mastered the superpower, called the divine ear element. I'm also a master, great sage, of the knowledge in others' hearts. I remember my former lives. My divine eye is purified. All the defilements are destroyed. I will not be reborn again. In meaning and in the teaching, etymology and preaching, my knowledge is vast and flawless. Through the great sage's majesty, in the presence and the absence of the chief victors, formerly, much service was performed by me. For the sake of you, O great sage, what good karma was done by me, formerly in existence, sage. That merit heaped up by me was, for the sake of you, great hero, avoiding wrong behavior and The 9 impossible places. The ultimate life's my duty. For the sake of you, great hero. I donated from my own funds. 10,000 10 millions in gold. My very life was abandoned. For the sake of you, great hero. Then all of them, greatly composed. Hands pressed together on their heads. Said, Sister, how'd you make the effort? For such unmatched superpower? 100,000 eons hence. I was a cobra god maiden. Known by the name of Vimla. Well honored among the maidens. The great Cobra Maharaja. Pleased in Buddha's dispensation. Invited Pañcadīpikā. Of great power, with followers. Sounding musical instruments. Going out to meet the Sambuddha. He made the Buddha's road ready. A pavilion made out of gems. A palanquin made out of gems. Things to enjoy made out of gems. Strewn with sand that was mixed with gems. Adorned with flags covered in gems. The world's leader, surrounded by the multitude, which is fourfold. Sat down on an excellent seat. There in Maharaja's palace. The Cobra King, greatly famed one. Gave excellent and excellent food and drink, hard food that's filling. Soft food to drink, very costly. Having eaten, having rinsed the bowl completely, the Sambuddha then made an expression of thanks. To us, the Cobra God maidens. Discerning what was in my heart. And my mind which was fixed on him. Taking pleasure in the teacher. When the Cobra maidens had seen the one whose name was Best Lotus. Greatly famed all-knower in bloom. That great hero, at that moment, showed a nun with superpowers. That Buddhist nun, very skillful, displayed diverse superpowers. Thrilling with delight and awe-struck. I said this to him, the teacher. I too saw the superpower of this happy Buddhist nun. Just how, hero, did she become so skillful in superpowers? This nun with great powers is my legitimate daughter, mouth-born. She's followed my instructions, thus. She's so skilled in superpowers. Hearing the words of the Buddha. Delighted indeed I aspired. I too shall become such a one. So skillful in superpowers. I am delighted, I'm happy. In the not yet become future. My supreme aspiration reached. I will be like her, O leader. Satisfying with food and drink. The world's leader with assembly. On a palanquin made of gems. Within a shining pavilion. I worshipped him, the world's leader. That my color should be that of an Aroa-type blue lotus. Foremost flower of the cobras. Due to that karma done very well. With intention and firm resolve. Discarding my human body. I went to Vatisa then. Fallen from there, being reborn. As a human being, I gave a self become lonely Buddha. Alms food covered with lotuses. In the 91st aeon hence. The leader known as Vipassī arose, the one good to look at. The one with eyes for everything. Being a millionaire's daughter. In Benares, supreme city. Inviting him, the Sambuddha. The world's leader with assembly. After donating a very large almsgiving to the guide, and worshipping with lotuses, I wished through them for splendid color. In this present lucky aeon. Brahma's kinsman, greatly famed one. The Buddha known as Kassapa. Was born, the best of debaters. The attendant of the great sage. Was the ruler of men back then. The king of Kasi, named Kiki. In Benares, greatest city. I was that king's second daughter. Who was named Samagat. Hearing the best victor's teaching. I chose to seek ordination. Our father did not permit it. We stayed at home during that time. Comfortable royal maidens. Doing our practice with vigor. In virginal celibacy. For 20 times 1,000 years. Fond of waiting on the Buddha. The king's 7 joyful daughters. Sama, and Samagut. Bhikkhuni, Bhikkadāyikā. Dhamma, and also Sudhamma. And 7th Sagadhiyak. Now I, and the nun named Khemā. Pakra and Qual. Gotamī, Dhammadina. And Visakha is the 7th. Due to those karmas done very well. With intention and firm resolve. Discarding my human body. I went to Vatisa then. Fallen from there, being reborn. As a human, in a great clan. I gave an arahant a robe. Of costly saffron-colored silk. Fallen from there, reborn among. Brahmins in Arihapra. Daughter of Tiruvaka. I was charming Amadanti. Fallen from there, I was born in. An undistinguished rural clan. I was then engrossed in guarding. Rice in a not quite ripened field. Having seen a lonely Buddha. Giving him 500 grains of roasted paddy, lotus covered. I wished to have 500 sons. With those wishes having given honey to that self become one. Fallen from there I was reborn. In a lotus in the forest. Being the Kasi king's chief queen. I was respected and worshipped. I bore royal princes for him. Not one fewer than 500. When my sons had become young men. While sporting at their water sports. Seeing fallen lotus petals. They turned into lonely leaders. I was then grieved, being bereft. Of those heroes who were my sons. Fallen from there, I was born in. A village near Isigilai. When I, Buddha mother reborn. Then well guarded myself. Was going carrying rice gruel. Having seen 8 lonely leaders. Going to the village for alms. I remembered my former sons. Then a stream of milk spurted out. From me out of love for my sons. And then I gave rice gruel to them. Feeling well pleased by my own hands. Fallen from there I was reborn. In joy with the 33 gods. Feeling both happiness and pain. Transmigrating from birth to birth. My very life was abandoned. For the sake of you, great hero. Thus suffering in varied forms. Various forms of happiness. When my last rebirth was attained. I'm born in Sravasti city. In a wealthy millionaire's clan. Comfortable, decorated. Glistening with various gems. Endowed with every sense pleasure. I was respected and worshipped. Revered, likewise also esteemed. I achieved radiant beauty. Much respected among the clans. And I was very much desired. Through the good fortune of beauty. Desired by various hundreds. Of millionaires' sons living there. After abandoning my house. I went forth into homelessness. When 8 months had not yet elapsed. I attained the 4 noble truths. With superpowers creating. A chariot with 4 horses. I will worship the feet of the Buddha, world's Lord, resplendent one. O nun, having approached a tree in full bloom. You remain alone, at that Sala tree's roots. You have no second in natural beauty. Foolish one, aren't you afraid of wanton men? Even if 100,000 wanton men come to this place, should behave in such a way. I would not be terrified, not a hair raised. I'm not afraid of you, death, when I'm alone. I, this nun, am disappearing. I am hiding in your belly. You do not see me, standing here. In the spot between your eyebrows. Becoming master of my mind. I developed superpowers. I'm liberated from all bonds. I am not afraid of you, friend. Sense pleasures are swords and daggers. The heap's executioner's blocks. I now dislike the enjoyment of sense pleasures of which you spoke. Everywhere, enjoyments are slain. The mass of darkness is destroyed. Know it like this, O evil one. You have been killed, O end maker. The victor, pleased by my virtue, then placed me in that foremost place. To the crowds the guide announced me best of those with superpowers. The teacher's been worshipped by me. I have done what the Buddha taught. The heavy load has been laid down. The ties to existence severed. The reason for which I went forth from my home into homelessness. I have now achieved that purpose. Destruction of all the fetters. By the moment they're bringing me monastic robes and begging bowls. All the requisites and lodgings. In the thousands from everywhere. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains. I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The three knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught. The four analytical modes. And these 8 deliverances. 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Bhikkhuni Uppalavaṇṇā spoke these verses. The legend of Uppalavaṇṇā Theri is finished. Patacārā. The victor, Pañcadīpikā, was a master of everything. That leader arose in the world 100,000 eons hence. I was born in Hasavat. In a clan of millionaires then. Glistening with various gems. Endowed with supreme happiness. Having approached that great hero, I heard him preaching the Dhamma. Then, pleasure born in my heart, I approached the victor for refuge. Then the victor praised as foremost of those who follow discipline. A Buddhist nun, modest, neutral. Careful about what's allowed and not. Then, with a heart full of pleasure. Wishing I were fixed in that place. Inviting the 10-powered one. The world's leader, with assembly. After feeding them for a week. Giving them the monastic robes. Bowing my head down at his feet. I spoke these words to that Buddha. If it meets with success, leader, I will become just like the one who was praised by you, O hero, on the 8th day before today. Then the teacher said this to me. Lucky one, fear not, breathe with ease. In the not yet become future, you will attain that wished for place. In 100,000 eons. Arising in Okaka's clan. The one whose name is Gotamī will be the teacher in the world. Worthy heir to that one's Dhamma. Dhamma's legitimate offspring. The one known as Patacārā will be the teacher's follower. At that time being overjoyed. As long as life, heart full of love. I attended on the victor. World's leader with his assembly. Due to that karma done very well. With intention and firm resolve. Discarding my human body. I went to Patacārā then. In this present lucky aeon. Brahma's kinsman, greatly famed one. The Buddha known as Kassapa. Was born, the best of debaters. The attendant of the great sage. Was the ruler of men back then. The king of Kasi, named Kiki. In Benares, greatest city. I was his 3rd royal daughter. Who was named Samagat. Hearing the best victor's teaching. I chose to seek ordination. Our father did not permit it. We stayed at home during that time. Comfortable royal maidens. Doing our practice with vigor. In virginal celibacy. For 20 times 1,000 years. Fond of waiting on the Buddha. The king's 7 joyful daughters. Sama, and Samagat. Bhikkhuni, Modakadāyikā. Dhamma, and also Sudhamma. And 7th Sagadiyik. Now I am Uppalavaṇṇā. Khemā and the nun named Bada. Gotamī, Dhammadina. And Visakha is the 7th. Due to those karmas done very well. With intention and firm resolve. Discarding my human body. I went to Patacārā then. And now, in my final rebirth. I'm born in a millionaire's clan. Rich, prosperous, very wealthy. In Sravasti, best of cities. When I become a young woman, overpowered by my own thoughts. After seeing a man from the country, I went away with him. I had produced a single son. The second one was in my womb. At that time, I had determined, I'll go see mother and father. My husband was not pleased at that. Then, when he was on a journey, I snuck out of the house alone to go to Supreme Sravasti. Then my husband came after me. He caught up with me on the road. Then my karma-born labor pains began, and they were very cruel. At the time for me to give birth, a massive rain cloud arose there. And then my husband, having gone to find grass, was killed by a snake. Then miserable and helpless, in the throes of painful childbirth, going toward a relative's house, seeing an overflowing stream, carrying my newborn, I crossed to the stream's other bank, alone. After nursing my newborn